upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Good morning, brothers and sisters. So, people that have been watching my videos for a while, subscribers, and those of you who are walking with me on my walk with Christ, will know that one of the areas of real interest for me is the sea and the water. Two different things, I think, the sea and the water. And I just feel today what's happened over there in Israel, I think it may have happened in America, but what's happening in Golan Heights may give me some clues, may give us some clues about what the sea is, and also it could go back to creation, I think, and it may even be opening up Revelation 12 and 13 a little bit. So, if we go back to Revelation 12, now remember where I'm coming from this morning is what's happened over there in Israel. So what's happened is the Golan Heights, which is Mt Hermon, which is where the fallen angels landed, has been taken over by Israel. Now, the mainstream media and the beast in the system, they will have you believe that it's currently occupied by Palestine. No. It's currently occupied by Switzerland. How do I know it's occupied by Switzerland? Because it's occupied by UN and NATO. And whenever you see UN and NATO, it's Switzerland, because Switzerland run the world. They are the Knights Templar. They run the world. They are the modern day Pharaoh. So everything that's universal, everything that's one, is basically Switzerland. Now, when you have a look at the Knights Templar, so we'll go through the flags again. Okay, Swiss flag. You've got the English flag. You've got the Great Britain flag. And then I'll put up the Australian flag there as well. And then you come down to the shield, to the Rothschild shield, which was born out of Switzerland. And you put that up against the current day flag of Israel, which goes back to, I think it was Raphadim or something, which is like a tribe of giants back there in the old days. It's got nothing to do with the Star of David. It goes back to basically giants. Nephilim does this Swiss star thing, right? So Switzerland, they've just got ties right back to all the way back to the Nephilim. Now, Switzerland are run by the Knights Templar, who one of their icons, so they've got their shield, and you see the shields right through the Bible. I've just read it in Jasher, where the children of Israel go to fight, and they fight them with the shields. And it's in Enoch there somewhere, where one of the angels gave the wisdom of the shield and how to fight with the sword and all that. And to me, that's just obviously the Knights Templar. Obviously the Knights Templar. Now, one of the logos of the Knights Templar is dragons. So dragons are synonymously it's as good as philanthropy. Synonymously and philanthropy. It's connected, so they're connected to the Knights Templar. So they've got their cross, they've got their shield, and they've got their dragon. And remember, the Knights Templar, Switzerland, they run the world. They are symbolised by a dragon. So they've been controlling in the name of the UN, because this is what Switzerland do. They just, another cause, another thing, they just make another logo, because they rule the world. All the money comes from Switzerland, and that's what that red shield, Rothschild shield is. And they now, the offshore Swiss bank accounts, all that stuff, it's all true. It's all true. The whole thing runs from Switzerland. So currently Mt Hermon is controlled by NATO and the UN. It's on there. It's on Wikipedia even. It's well documented. That's what's happening. So what's happening today? Because Israel is taking control of Mt Hermon, the site where a third of the angels fell. It's interesting, isn't it? It's really strange. I find it really, really strange. So you have a look. You go to Revelation 12. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she being with child cried, travailing at birth and pain to be delivered. Now this almost, to me, that verse 2 almost goes back to me to the affliction that the fallen angels befell Eve, because I'll put enmity between thy seed and your seed. I think that was more of the birth of Jesus, which this appears to be describing to me, because when you read on the chapter and you go right down the bottom of the chapter, and the dragon was wroth with the woman. This is Revelation 12:17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So this woman, at the start of Revelation 12, gave birth to a child, and she has the seed of us, which is the remnant of Jesus Christ. So is this talking about the second coming, or is it talking about the birth of Jesus? It's really hard to know, because I would have thought Mary, when she gave birth to Jesus, would have had pains. But anyway, verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon, having 7 horns and 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon its head. And its tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Now, to me, that goes back to Pharaoh and Herod, and King Herod and Jesus, does it not? That's what it sounds like. But the dragon, to me, symbolises Switzerland, which is Pharaoh. So is it modern day, or is it describing what's already happened? Because this is a prophecy book, isn't it? It's a prophecy book. So it has to be after Jesus. But it really, to me, it's describing the birth of Christ. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. Right, the crucifixion. But Jesus never ruled. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And then it talks about there was a war in heaven against the dragon, and the dragon didn't win, and the great dragon was cast out. This is verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Now that's already happened, hasn't it? That's already happened. So why is this in Revelation? And then it sort of comes. It talks about the war between the dragon, which is Satan. So it's basically saying the dragon, which is Switzerland, which is Satan. It's basically confirming what I've been saying, I think. So what's the significance today of Israel taking over the site of the fallen angels from the dragon? My mind's racing. Is yours racing? If anybody's got any thoughts, please let me know, because this is just a diary. You know, I'm not teaching anything. All I'm doing is just trying to bring together the knowledge that the Lord's brought me, and just what I'm observing on the TVs in a modern day prism. But that sort of Revelation 12, to me, it really does. It seems to be describing the birth of Christ, like the first coming. But the only thing that doesn't add up with that theory is who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Is there somewhere in the Bible where Jesus rules with a rod of iron? Seems forceful to me, but don't know. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And we all know Jesus sits at the right-hand side of the Lord. So it's really confusing. Now, second thing I wanted to talk about was the sea. So if you go to, and this is where I feel Revelation 13 could be unlocking as well here. This is a verse I read out at the start. So I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. Now, we all know that that's not literally going to happen, that some beast is not going to rise up out of the sea. But in my investigations of the sea, and just my natural interest in it, the natural interest that the Lord has created within me. So for this time of my walk right now, he wants me to concentrate on the sea, because that's how he created me. So this is what I do. We are the body of Christ, and we all bring different attributes. We all bring different things to the table, and that's what making up a body is about. So you've got your wisdom in this area, I've got mine in this area, and we all come together as the body, and we arrive at the truth in the name of the Lord. Because those of us in the body of Christ, that's all we're interested in, is the truth. So, okay, so to me the sea is not, I don't think it's the literal ocean. It's not the actual sea. I think it goes back to Genesis, to be honest. So in my video there yesterday, I spoke again about Genesis 1 verse 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So as I described in that video yesterday, that's describing a place that's dark, desolate, without hope. Basically where we are now. This place where we are now is run by dark, evil forces. And those of us who represent the light, those of us in the body of Christ, we're very, very thin on the ground. We're not being listened to. People just mock and ridicule us. We come in the name of love and the truth. I was going to say peace. That's one of their words, but it's true. But just love and love of the Lord, and love of everything good, and love of the gospel. That's the name we come in. But no, we just get mocked and ridiculed and just sent to the stupid people corner. I've had another exchange this morning, which has just left me just lamenting. I'm not going to go into it, but basically the person told me they're going to keep me in the dark, and I just thought to myself, wow, if only you knew. But anyway, I'll stay in your darkness, no problem. I will stay in your darkness because you are in the dark and I am in the light. So what represents your darkness is the light. And you don't want to know the light, so that's fine. I will stay in darkness. I've learned a lot the last few days about people and other people's salvation and my place in it. And honestly, guys, where I am right now, I've got no interest. I've got no interest in helping others and bringing them closer to the Lord. If they want it, if you want it, if you've got an appetite for it, and you leave a comment here, or if I have a comment in the street, or I strike up a conversation in the street, yes, absolutely, I'll bring them closer to the Lord. But loved ones, people I already know, my posts on Instagram, no, I'm done. I've reached the end with it. I really have, and I really feel like it's the Lord speaking to me. I've just had enough. It's tiresome. It's wearisome. It makes you sometimes it just makes your emotions get in your way of your walk with the Lord. It leaves me feeling glum and really down in the dumps there some days. So no more. I'm not doing it anymore. But anyway, when you go through Genesis, so you go through and he talks about let there be light, and there was light. So that's him. That's the Lord coming back. That's the Lord coming back. Now, where I think it's interesting, or where I think the clue about the sea, with all this video I'm doing here this morning, I think the clue with the sea is that now bad things come out of the sea in the Bible, right? Bad things come out of the sea. So Jonah stayed in the whale of the fish. He went into the sea. He went into the sea for 3 days, and he stayed in the belly of the fish for 3 days. Okay, I just read that thing in. That verse in Jasher 36, the end there, where these horrible monsters come from the other side of the sea, and I think to myself, that's interesting. Where's the other side? Yeah, it's a spiritual thing. It's monsters. They're monsters that are coming out of the sea. It's these fallen angels, because it described these beings, these mutated animal, human hybrid beings, and that was in Jasher. You know, so they're monsters. They're not literally coming out of the sea, and it's not just over there. It's the other side. It's the veil. It's the other side. That's what the sea is, and this is what the firmament is. So God made the firmament. So I really, this morning, I'm starting to think that Genesis 1 through 10 is not about flat earth at all. I still think the earth's flat, no problem there, but I just don't think the scripture means that. It's not about the earth. It's not. It is in a sense, but it's the spiritual barrier. It's the spiritual barrier. So in verse 6, he said, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. So he's talking about the waters down here, which is our oceans and seas, but the waters, the dark, it's dark up there. And I'm really starting to think that the spiritual realm, or the angels and the heaven, it's water. It's all immersed in water, and it's a very dark place. And there's a war going on up there. There's a war going on up there because a lot of these angels fell, and God is trying to cleanse it. He's trying to purge it, and that's probably the meaning for all this, for creation, maybe. Verse 7, I just read out, I'll do it again. God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. Okay, so that's the veil. That's the veil that he's put between us and evil, and the sea. So the waters above, I'm starting to think, is the sea. He would just say that if he meant that, maybe. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. So the firmament is heaven. So that's the barrier. Is that a structure between the water? So is heaven actually... So the firmament's heaven. And the firmament divides the two bodies of water. The sea and us is divided by heaven. Maybe. You vibing me? You with me? Or you're not with me? Am I just dribbling shit again? Or am I onto something here? And then I know chapter 10 is... Here we go. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. So that goes against what I've been saying, because they're on earth, aren't they, the seas? And the gathering together of the waters. And the dry land he called earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. So it's interesting. It's really, really interesting, because bad things come out of the sea, and these monsters are coming out of the sea, which is the other side of the sea. So, I don't know. I just don't know. It's all a little... I feel I'm getting close to something here, but I think the Bible may have contradicted a couple of things I just said there in verse 10, maybe. It's hard to know. It's hard to know, but there's clearly something going on here with Mt Hermon at the moment. Mt Hermon over there. So the dragon is Switzerland, and they control the site where the fallen angels come down from the other side of the veil, which I'm thinking is the firmament, and the waters above could represent the sea, and that's where these monsters come out of, because they come out of the other side of the sea, don't they, in Jasher? But in Revelation 13, it actually comes up out of the sea. Could it mean the Sea of Souls? Don't know. As I say, it's just a diary. It's just a few things that I'm putting down. Just a few ideas I'm putting down here. And just let me know what you think. Just let me know what you think, because it's clear something's going on today with the side of the fallen angels. And you go to Revelation 12 and the dragon Switzerland, and he's cast down a third of the souls, the third of the angels down. And as I sit in this car here this morning, Revelation 12, it just appears to describe the first half anyway, just appears to describe the birth of Christ the first time. Except he didn't rule with an iron rod. That part's missing. So is it going to be exactly the same? Is that how the second coming is going to look? That it's going to be through a birth of a woman? Don't know. Go and have a look at it. Go and have a look at Revelation 12 and just let me know what you think. Anyway, guys, that's where my head is at this morning. I've just spent another morning there in the gym watching people do Masonic hand signs, and everybody being as blind as bats to what's going on, and everybody thinking that it's a marvellous, wonderful thing that God's children are taking up more land over there in Israel when they're actually Satan's children. But anyway, and if I ever say anything, I'm just mocked and ridiculed, and people get offended, and it's not cool when people get offended. I really need a camper. I've been praying to the Lord about this really, really hard this morning, asking him, Lord, please make this make sense to me. I don't understand why I can't find one. And it's just the only thing it can be is that he just doesn't want me to have one. It's the only thing I can come up with. But anyway, I'm up to Jasher 50 now, Jasher 50. So Isaac just died. At the story of young Joseph, which is an interesting story, because I thought the way he sort of approached his brothers, he was a bit, a bit holier than thou to his brothers. And his brothers, I think, were, I don't know, they were, maybe it's a spiritual thing that I'm missing, I'm not sure, but they certainly had no right to put him in the pit. But to me, the pit represents, again, the darkness. It represents the darkness. To me, the Bible, Jasher may as well have said the sea when he said pit. To me, it was a place of darkness, but Joseph has made good. He's gone to... He's been sent to Egypt, he's been whipped, he's been all sorts of things. He's got this Jezebel woman just absolutely demanding his audience, and he just won't hearken to her. The king's made him second in charge now, and he's making himself a real life for himself over there in Egypt. The God's blessed. He was the one blessed, wasn't he, by the Lord? The one son of Jacob. He seemed to be God's favourite. He was certainly Jacob's favourite, and Jacob's still just mourning the loss of his son, because his son and the other sons are deceiving him, which is interesting. The 12 sons of Jacob are being deceptive, and they just wanted to kill their brother. And I found it interesting that Reuben was the only one who didn't go along with it, and Reuben was the one who, when his mother died, I think it was when his mother died, it appeared he went and laid with Jacob's new wife. I think that's how. It doesn't actually say that. It doesn't say it in the Bible or Jasher, but I think that's the impression we all get, isn't it? So it's interesting now in Jasher. Jasher's been interesting the whole way through, and it continues to be. And it looks like now we go along and it's more about Joseph. But I had a bit of a skip through there this morning just to see what's going to happen, and it looks like it goes into more detail about Moses, which will be good, because I need to know more about Moses, because when I started reading the Bible there, I didn't really have the spiritual eyes on until I got to Nehemiah chapter 2. So it'll be good to go through the story of Moses and the Israelites and the release from the bondage of the Egyptians, and I feel that's going on today, and I feel that's why the Lord has led me to Jasher, as well as uncovering more about the skins. So that's me. That's where my head's at, guys. Been an interesting 24 hours as usual. We go away now. We keep reading the book of Jasher. Off to Brisbane tomorrow. Can't wait for that. I'm going up there for about a week. So really looking forward to that. Looking forward to meeting some people, and just looking forward to some new experiences as I grow even more and more in the body of Christ.
Change your mind, the sun has come. You've been left free.